Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
We've been expecting you.
It's Monday. Time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I hope everybody's having a great night. I would like to introduce to you guys Denise and Patrick Knowles, otherwise known as Colorado Martini, and they're a little bit different than the bulk of us. You know, most of us are out here doing just paranormal investigating, but they are also travel and history and adventure video bloggers as well as paranormal bloggers. So we're going to get a lot more information out of this show than you guys thought. You're going to learn something tonight. So welcome, Denise and Patrick, to the Paranormal Pride.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I've been waiting for this show for quite a while, and because, you know, I had to reschedule because I wasn't feeling well that night. And so it all works out. You're here now. And so would you guys like to give more of an introduction to how you guys got started in your, I'm going to go with your vlogging career?
Well, it's funny how it started. We actually did not start out with paranormal or travel at all. I actually started the channel as a gardening channel. And there was actually two channels. One was gardening and one was called Dead Stones. And I love going to graveyards and finding out the history of people. And so I guess we call ourselves tombstone tourists. And so I was going to do one with the tombstone tourism site, and one was going to be organic gardening. And I just wasn't feeling the gardening at all. And we were writing a book because Patrick is really good at making flavorful martinis like lemon drops and blueberry martinis and things of that nature. So we decided to write a book because everybody loved our martinis so much. And we became Colorado Martini, and that's where the name comes from.
Well, that was going to be a question because it sounded like, okay, I know you live in Colorado, but why Martini? One of you, somebody's a drunk. I don't mean that offensively, because I know some people might take that offensive. I have a lot of alcoholics in my family, so I'm just used to. We call it what it is, you know.
We're both Irish. We understand.
Okay, so there you go. Me, on the other hand, I'm Irish and English and German and Indian, so none of us can hold our liquor.
That minus the Native American. We both have the same background.
How do you know?
So that's where the name came from, and everybody loved the name. Everywhere we went, everybody loved the name. And so we started doing live events on YouTube where we would make a couple of the recipes to promote the book. And that's how I brought Patrick into the channel. And it just kind of took off. Everybody really, enjoyed coming to our live events. And so like if you look at our older videos, you'll see a lot of live
Drinking.
Well, my husband watches a lot of videos that, like Ralphie from Scotland, who does Scotch. He reviews all the Scotch, and the Bourbon Brothers, who review bourbon. And then there's one with a very colorful name, and she's the Bourbon Bee, and the B spell out the rest of it. I think everybody can figure out what that says. Witch with a B. There you go. And he watches all of these videos on these reviews on alcohol. Like I said, mostly bourbon and Scotch. So it's not like it shocks me that you guys have videos about that, because it can be a rather large business, because a lot of the distillers will send free product your way. I don't know if you ever got that far.
Well, we, got to know a lot of the distillers in the area and stuff. And what we would do with the kind of the thread of the whole thing is that we would talk about the history of the alcohol that we were featuring. And everybody just loved hearing all these trivia about bourbon or vodka or gin or where the drink that we were making originated, or where a Moscow Mule cup, why it's served in a copper cup and stuff. And
why is Bourbon Street called Bourbon Street? Yeah.
I don't know, because I didn't see any distilleries there. I just saw lots of bourbon falling out of people's hands as they were getting drunk.
That was the destination point at the end of the Mississippi River for American bourbon. When they would float it down the Mississippi, it would be put in barrels. Sometimes it would take 60, 90 days for the boat to actually get to at the end point, Louisiana. And the bourbon would be so well aged that it tasted incredible because it sat in the barrels longer.
Right. And the first barrel came from Bourbon County.
There you go.
Yeah, I know the whole story. I guarantee that we go all of our vacations usually have a distillery involved.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, we call it our spirits and spirits tour. I find the haunted distilleries. We go on the tours. We enjoy ourselves on the tours. And 9 times out of 10, they end with some spirits in my glass. So it works out. And people have heard me say this. My favorite distillery is the Old Crow Distillery. It's now called Glens Creek. And that one and Buffalo Trace. Mm. We've been to Buffalo Trace so many times, I'm surprised they haven't named a building after us. But they're adding buildings, so there's a chance.
Well, you're definitely owning stock in the company.
Well, you figure it's been around since 1792. How bad can it be? There's only a few distilleries that have run continuously this whole time, and that is one. It was the OFC was the original name of it.
Right.
But again, my mom lived in Kentucky, so for 30 years I was driving back and forth across 64, so why not? But
you're in Birmingham, right?
No, Kat's in Birmingham. I'm actually in Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
So the Rieger's distilleries here, Dark Horse, Tomstown, Restless Spirits is here. We have quite a yeah. It's actually in a haunted building.
Is it?
And, so I guess we're planning a trip to Kansas City.
And we've got quite a few distilleries. We've got KGP, not KGP, MGP. Most Wanted. MGP makes Till vodka. that's up in Atchison. We got the Holiday Distillery in Weston, Missouri, just across the river. So yeah, we've got quite a few here, but it's interesting that out of all the distilleries we've been to, we have hardly been to any here.
Oh, that's good barbecue too.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. we do have, if you like burn ends, this is the place to come. We've got better burn ends than they do in Denver. That's for sure. Well, Littleton. I had burn ends in Littleton. But so I could see where the doing all the alcohol reviews and all that, the drink reviews, would take you to the paranormal because, like I said, spirits and spirits.
Well, you'll notice in a lot of our videos where there's always a martini involved here and there. And that we like end the video on it, or we're reviewing a restaurant, and I order a Cosmo and I review the Cosmo and stuff. But with the live events, there was, we had that history thread in there, and everybody really loved that history thread. And that's where we kind of went down the road of always having something historical facts within our videos. So we started traveling and started videoing our traveling. It wasn't just, here's this place, it's great, go to it. It was stop and smell the history, find this bizarre place and here's the history behind it. And
what famous people are buried there. We always check the cemeteries.
Yeah, there's always cemeteries involved. I always find, interesting people that are buried or kind of unusual
stories.
Unusual stories and stuff. Kind of like Atlas Obscura we've been kind of becoming. So one Halloween, as we were kind of transitioning into this travel, reviewing places and going places and talking about the history, I did a video telling the story of the haunted Cheeseman Park here in Denver. And I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but as far as I'm concerned, Cheeseman Park in the Denver Botanical Gardens is one of the most haunted places in the United States. And it kind of surprises me how many people don't know about it.
I don't know how they couldn't know about it. I mean, it was on Most Terrifying Places in America. And the guy who wrote the book about haunted, the Capital District there, he's wordy, really wordy guy. I got a book about that somebody gave me. I was sick when I was in Denver. I had shingles, and they brought me this book, and it's huge. And so I noticed how wordy it was. And then I took the Capitol ghost tour that Chris Moon's dad used to operate, the Huff. His last name was Huff. And they used to do all that, and they took me down to Croak Patterson and Peabody, Molly Brown, all these other places, and not a safe place to be in the middle of the night, kind of. Yeah. But it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot when I was. I mean, because I was going to Denver sometimes every 2 weeks for a while there, and then they kind of did away with our travel. But because I was down in Littleton a lot, so why not figure it out? And I heard about the Lumber Baron. Never made it there, but I heard about it, and so I tried to do something haunted everywhere I went, kind of like you guys with your stuff. I never made it to any of the graveyards out there, mostly because you kind of don't go to places like that by yourself.
Right.
So, but you guys have a great area to explore, both distillery and haunted wise.
Yeah, with all the mining that happened here and the boom towns and the ghost towns that are now, the boom towns that became ghost towns, we have a lot to choose from. Mm-hmm. The Wild West was alive and well up and down the Rocky Mountains here. And we live close to so many things that people are like, oh, you guys are always traveling. And what they don't realize is that we actually live within car distance of a lot of these places. Cheyenne, Wyoming is only an hour north of us. And
really?
Yeah.
Actually, more like 45 minutes if there's no traffic. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're northern Colorado, and then Estes Park is 30 minutes away.
Where the Stanley is.
And the Stanley's there, of course. But there's also Rocky Mountain National Forest, National Park, excuse me, which has a lot to do that is unparanormal.
Well, yeah.
So we go to a lot of these places, and sometimes they're just a day drive away for us, and it's so we've been focusing on paranormal stuff up in Cheyenne recently. We did an investigation at the Plains Hotel, and
that place is awesome.
That place was really awesome.
They had heat, right?
Yes.
Okay. As I say, it is winter. I know how cold it gets in Cheyenne.
Yeah, it actually snowed while we were up there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we actually put 2 videos out about that hotel because there was so much to cover. I had to do it in 2. We got so much just in our room that I had to put out a tour video of touring the hotel, and then another one just from the evidence that we found in our hotel room. And there were no claims in this hotel room. We decided just to kind of check it out and to see if we could find anything in our own room. And we found James.
Oh, and how did you find James?
So we decided to pull out the K2 and just kind of do a sweep of the room and see, if we could get anybody to communicate with us. And we did. So we pulled out we got intelligent responses on the K2. And so we pulled out the spirit box, and started asking questions. And we were getting intelligent responses on the spirit box. And then we'd go back and forth between the 2 devices. And on the thermal, too.
Yeah. So even a third piece of evidence, I was able to catch a real nice cold spot right next to Denise while she was doing the session. So the cold spot was like within inches of the K2 and within a foot of the other equipment we have.
Yeah, it was like it was reaching up and touching the K2.
Just kind of bellowed up from the floor. And it's interesting because the room that we were in, that was an interior floor and an interior wall. No way for a cold spot to really be there. And I watched it form on the camera, then I watched it dissipate. And it was quite incredible.
Yeah, and then I could feel it on my feet. I was like, I go, is there something at my feet? And he puts the thermal up, and there's just cold billowing around my feet. And so it was kind of one of the best evidence that we've ever gotten. And you kind of, it was one of those things where you had to be there to really know that this just all of a sudden appeared, and there was no way for this cold to come in. There was just nothing to the direction it was coming from. There was no vents in the room because it's an older room. So they had window units, which was not even near me, and it wasn't on. And it was just really bizarre. And it came as quick as it went. And
yeah, we even got his name.
Yeah. So he told us his name was James 3 times, actually 4 times on the spirit box. Every time we asked him what his name is,
he said
over
James.
a 2-day period, he'd say James.
And when we'd get that uncomfortable silence, we would ask him if he's still there. And sure enough, he'd tap the K2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. And then I asked him what my name was, and he goes, Nini. Well,
it's kind of weird how somebody would know an old family name.
That's a family name. That's
short for Denise.
Yeah, that's what my family calls me, is Nini. And I was like,
well,
did you say Nini?
Well, mine called me Nisi. So everyone, we're at our first break. Yep, we're at our first break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
We've been expecting you.
Monday, time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guests tonight are Denise and Patrick Knowles from Colorado, and they go by Colorado Martini, and you can find them on YouTube by searching Colorado Martini. So we were talking about Cheyenne, Wyoming, and while we were talking about that, a question came across asking. You talked about the K2 and the ghost and the spirit box. What equipment do you use besides that?
Well, the spirit box. Going back to that, we use an S box, and we got an S box because it records, and we like doing the Estes method because sometimes we're in places where we need to wear headphones and plug it into the device, and somebody asks questions, and then somebody, usually me, blurting out the answers, and it records. So that's one of the reasons we got the S box. And then the SLS. I'm a software developer or software engineer, and so I'm very involved in Microsoft technology most of my career. And so I've always been fascinated by the Kinect camera. I've always been wanting to develop it for accessibility reasons. So somebody that can't use their hands and can't use a mouse and stuff, to use the Kinect camera to manipulate the computer with the Kinect. And so when they started using the SLS cameras in paranormal investigations, I was fascinated by it because I've always loved anything that has to do with SLS. So I took an old Kinect camera and made it into one of our paranormal devices. And so we don't use that as much in our videos recently because it's not real portable right now. Because most of the SLS cameras that you see on the paranormal shows has been custom made for them.
Yeah, they spend a lot of money for those.
Yeah, Windows tablets and hand holders and other things like that. It can be expensive.
Well, they're not even using a lot of them aren't even using the Kinect. They're using a different brand.
Right.
God, I can't remember the name of the company, UCAR or something like that. They're out of England. And so when they custom make them for them, they use that camera. And so the screen, the interface that you have is different than what you would have with the Kinect. But the Kinect, you're kind of anchored. Right. Because you need the power.
It's good for stationary investigations. Yeah. If you want to check an entire room out, it basically is awesome for that.
Well, we used it at Cheeseman Park. I was so excited to use it at Cheeseman Park, and I was really bummed we didn't get anything.
Well, that happens, though. I mean, and that is the truth about paranormal investigating. Sometimes you might feel that it's there, but you may not get proof that it's there. And that happens. Denise, you said that you're a software developer. Do you ever look at any of the apps, phone apps?
Yeah, I get asked that question quite a bit because, people that we go out with or the places I speak at, I speak at a lot of paranormal events here locally. And so I have a lot of people ask me about apps because they know I'm a developer, and I'm really on the fence is my best answer about it. I'm
the same way.
I'm investigating whether I feel they can really be used in paranormal investigation. But
I find that they corrupt your equipment more than anything.
That's the other reason.
All your other electronic devices, your K2, all your devices that you have, the phone, if you're getting messages, if it's hooked to the internet, it interferes with everything that I do.
Yep. That's why
I
you have
usually
to
leave
have
mine in the car.
Yeah, that's why you have to put it on Windows or on airplane mode.
Airplane mode, exactly.
In fact, we have
video the other day, and this guy was using one of the Spirit Box apps, and then he had a K2 in his other hand,
and he's wondering why it's going off.
Exactly.
I know.
And it's like, so I don't care for those because of that reason. I'd rather have the equipment. But as far as whether they work or not, I still need some more convincing.
I think it would be a lot easier for it to corrupt the evidence as well.
It would, especially if you're keeping it all together, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do have one thing for you to look at. Because this is what I look at. I look at the code because I do code. I do AI. And so I look at the code, and if it has anything in there that's triangulating, no.
Right.
Because it can still triangulate when you're on airplane mode. If it has to have access to my mic, no. If it has to be on the internet all the time, then no. Because we have it on devices, we only have internet at home, and we don't use our devices at home. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. And if there are words built into it,
exactly,
actual words. So those are things that, right? That's why I'm very particular about it, and I look at the actual code, how it's written. So if I'm seeing certain things that are pointing me towards this, I'm going, okay, this one I can't use. This one's fake. It's got words built into it. You know, you can see the words that are built into it because, you know, they're in quotes. It's easy to tell. Wow. Here you go.
We're always open to, show me, prove it to me.
Please. I'd love to find something new and exciting.
It's like the Spirit Box. I was a real skeptic about the Spirit Box for a long time, but then when we went out with a couple we did a thing over at the Callahan House in Longmont, Colorado, and it was a big paranormal event, and there were other Colorado YouTubers there, paranormal Colorado YouTubers, and they brought out Spirit Boxes, and they convinced me because the evidence that we got there was so great with the Spirit Box that I was convinced, and now I actually really like it a lot.
Well, after looking at it and in the technology that they use, it's basically just my old AM/FM transistor radio with a scanner built in.
Yeah.
And then throw in the ability, of course, to record it now with a SIMS card.
Yeah, we've just gotten too many exact answers out of a Spirit Box for me not to, kind of take pause and go, that's got to be something intelligent.
And we always look out. We're always on the lookout for the standout words. Not the 10,000 that you hear mumbled into your ear when you're listening to it. But we always kind of felt that if a spirit was there and had something to say, you'd know it.
It would really come through.
You'd know it.
Like words like Denise.
Yeah.
Denise does not come through. If it comes through,
not
then
that common on the radio, Denise.
No, until today. Today it's common right now at this moment in time, since there's two of us. But usually, if Denise is a 3-syllable word,
yes,
and it never comes through, and when it does, you're shocked as anything.
Well, yeah, even Nini. I mean, if it had said Nisi, I would have really been.
Oh yeah, my name's a little hard for the Spirit Box as well. You don't hear Patrick on the radio very often.
No, you might hear Pat Rick, but not Patrick.
Yeah.
Well, this investigation that we went out with these other paranormal YouTubers, 303 Paranormal and DJ Acid Burn Paranormal, they were doing investigation with Patrick, and I was with another group, and it called him out by name like several times. in different rooms. Even when he wasn't there, it was calling out his name.
Yeah, I wasn't getting a lot of love in the house. I don't think the former owner cared for me too much.
Well, you never know. Maybe he liked you a lot and wanted you to come back.
No, not with the names he was calling me.
Well, maybe that's how he has fun when he's drinking.
Sometimes a strong personality doesn't want another strong personality in the room.
I know. I've been there, done that. A lot.
What other equipment do we use? Did I miss something?
Well, we love the K2, of course. And then voice recorder, just your average old dictaphone that you can put down and try to catch those disembodied voices.
We use Olympus.
Yeah.
We haven't had a whole lot of luck with that.
My thermal camera's a FLIR. I didn't get the one I wanted, but I got the one I could afford.
Right. Well, isn't that how it always goes?
$600. Just a little C2 pocket thermal. I can also justify it at work, so it works well.
Well, that's good.
And then we have a RIM pod.
Yeah, we have a RIM pod as well.
And which we just bought, so we don't have a whole lot of
experience
with it yet. And I think, we've caught things. I've actually caught more EVPs on my phone filming than I have on the recorder.
Well, being a YouTuber, usually when she's walking through these haunted places, she is filming. And it's amazing when you go back with headphones and just go through what she's been filming, what you can catch.
Oh, we were at the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Really
awesome town.
Awesome, very haunted town. And I was just going through the hotel videoing the pictures that were each door because they film a lot there for TV shows like Longmire and the TV show Roswell and just tons of them. They all stay in the plaza. And so they have their pictures up at each door where they would always stay when they would come. And so I'm just walking, and ironically enough, I'm at the John Carpenter room. And I'm like, and this is the John Carpenter room. And I guess he filmed vampires here. And something wasn't even doing a paranormal investigation, and something when I reviewed it said, hello.
Oh, it wasn't a something. It was a female.
Female.
Well, that's when it usually happens, when you're not prepared.
Yeah.
But my daughter used to live in Red River.
Okay.
I love Red River.
Yeah, she used to work at the Chamber of Commerce there, and not the Chamber, the Visitor Center. And so they also cleaned some of the rentals when they were there. But she used to go over to Taos in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and things like that when they lived up there. And she kept trying to get us to go down to Roswell. I said, that's not even anywhere near you. Why do you want us to? Well, because I want to go to Roswell. Okay, that was it. She wanted us to come to town because she knew that if we came to town, they could talk us into going to Roswell and she could go. Well, where does she live now? She lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, on the edge of the mountains where they see UFOs all the time. Not that my daughter does, but people see UFOs all the time in that
aircraft there. There's a big base there called Area 51.
Oh yeah, I know. They went out to Mitzpah and stuff out there this last year was the first time they had gone up to Tonopah.
Yeah.
So, and she goes, why didn't you tell me there was nothing there? I said, I did. I said, when I said that there was a Burger King and a gas station and we pretty much turned around and came back to Vegas, what's that tell you? There's nothing there. But we went up there to check out the Tonopah graveyard and the Mitzpah Hotel, and not the Clown Motel. Clown Motel is not haunted, period. Regardless of what Ghost Adventure says.
It should be, but it's not.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea how many times I get asked that. have you done the Clown Motel? And it's just like, it's not haunted.
But you do need to check out the graveyard because every stone has its own story on it. Some of them are wooden, and they made the stone with metal, with nails, and put it on the wood. And a lot of them died in the mine accident over there. And the mines are back to being open. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But don't go when there's snow. It's cold, and there's nothing to stop the wind.
Right. It's high desert, right?
Yeah, it is. It's 7,000 feet. So it's cold. We went after our daughter's wedding, and it was in March, and it had snowed that Sunday, and they also had a windstorm and a sandstorm, and NASCAR races were going on. So it was crappy. Yeah, it was horrible. But it is one of those places that every time we fly to Vegas, it's one of the things we want to drive to. When we drive to Vegas, we don't want to drive any further. We've already driven, 1,400 miles. Why would we want to drive another 8 hours for there, for back? So.
Did you get a chance? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you. You were mentioning Roswell. Did you get a chance to do any investigations in Roswell?
We haven't even made it down there yet. Every time, when we drive, it's like we want to stop. But then do we really want to go off the road that far off of 40? Because it's a big detour for us. Well, you figure it's an hour and a half detour at least one way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to go out that way, I would recommend going to Lincoln and Fort Stanton rather than Roswell.
Yeah, it was kind of a disappointment for us. When we went out, we just expected it to be a little different.
Yeah, it was just we were disappointed in Roswell.
A lot of cheap museums, knockoff UFO crap, but they just I don't know. It just wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, I expected it to be more entertaining. And it wasn't.
Yeah, if we drove the hour and a half out of the way.
Oh, well.
That's why I'm trying to spare you the ride.
Well, you hear about it for so many years, and you think, well, it's one of the places. I'd heard since I was a kid about the Painted Desert, and we weren't disappointed with that. How can you be?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We've heard about the meteor hole, where the meteor hit there in Arizona. And I just can't, meteor crater. I don't want to spend $18 to see a hole in the ground. I mean, it's bad enough if I decide to go to Grand Canyon, I got to spend $35 to see a hole in the ground.
Right.
I don't know why I have to pay to see a park that my tax dollars is keeping open. Okay. Right. I don't understand. But if I go to the part that's being run by the Indians, I know why I have to pay.
Right.
But the part being run by the United States government, I shouldn't have to pay.
No.
But that's me. But yeah, like I said, that meteor crater, we've talked about stopping and then said, nah. And then we talk about it again, and then I go, no, I can't pay $18 to see a hole in the ground.
You didn't realize it was that expensive.
We found Lincoln and
Lincoln, New Mexico.
Lincoln, New Mexico, and Fort Sumter, and we kind of went on the Billy the Kid trail there for a short time, and trying to do a little paranormal grave site and things of that nature while we were there. He's buried out in the middle of nowhere.
That's what I heard. But I think Billy the Kid, doesn't he have some history here in Kansas?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Jesse James did.
Oh, well, Jesse James. I mean, Jesse James has history in Kentucky.
On the Missouri
he stayed at the
side.
1792 Talbot Tavern in Bardstown, Kentucky. He put a bullet in a wall there. Kearney, Missouri, St. Joseph, Missouri, and his brother was at Smithville, Missouri, Frank. And then both of them, Jesse broke Frank out of the 1859 jail in Independence, Missouri, and Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, they stayed at the Garnet House Hotel in Garnett, Kansas.
Okay.
Well, so, like I said,
Billy, I found out that he and Jesse actually met. And Jesse, when Frank didn't want to, when they were hiding out, and Jesse wanted to start, robbing again, and Frank didn't, and the rest of his gang didn't want to. Jesse came out west to try to recruit people, and he met up with Billy the Kid in a saloon in Las Vegas, New Mexico. I've actually been to the spot where the saloon used to be, and the story was told third hand by one of Billy's gang in something he wrote up and stuff, how Jesse came out to recruit Billy and other thugs. But a lot of people don't know that story. I had never heard that before, but it was the historians actually feel that it's credible because of how the story was told and where it came, and who it came from. It was an insider is the one that told the story.
No reason to be fabricated.
Yeah, there was no reason to be fabricated. And
so, we're coming up on our next break. So we're gonna end with this. His mother, Billy the Kid's mother, Catherine McCarthy, and his stepfather, William Antrim, briefly resided in Wichita from 1870 to 1871 and took part in the founding of the city. So there you go. But you got everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you have any questions, please put them in either one of the chats, and I will make sure that those questions get asked and answered, and we will be enjoying your questions too. But I want you guys to think about this while we're on break. Think about dowsing rods, because there's going to be a dowsing rod question after the break. I guarantee it. So we'll be back, guys.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
But we're going to keep going anyway, and because we're still recording. So from that, we've talked about the dowsing rods now, and and you guys have seen being a geophysicist, of course, you've seen really good stuff out of them. So proving that they do find what they're looking for, and I've seen that on TV as well. On Moonshiners, Tim Smith went out there and used them to say there's water here. Doesn't tell you how far down though.
No, it doesn't.
But there we go, going back to the distillery stuff again. But do you guys, we were talking about graveyards. That was one of the things we had talked a little bit about, and I know that's where you guys enjoy graveyards. Mm-hmm. We went to 3 graveyards over the weekend. I think you guys did too, didn't you? Go to a graveyard.
We went to Alfred Packard's.
Yeah, we ended up at one, and actually in Littleton. You were talking about Littleton a short time ago. We were at a graveyard at Littleton. Colorado's favorite cannibal was buried there.
Do you know the story of Alfred Packard?
No, I do not.
So Alfred Packard in the late 1800s was coming out of Salt Lake City, and he went up with a group they were going to mine for gold in the Colorado Rockies, and they shouldn't have gone when they left. It was too late in the season. And, as everybody knows, in those days, you don't get stuck up there in the winter. And they did. And they found a Ute Native American camp and stayed with them for a while. And then they wanted to move on because they wanted to go find gold before anybody else. They wanted to stake claims for anybody else. And the very famous chief, O'Ray, told them, don't go. You're going to die. And they went anyways. Not the whole group, but about 6 of them.
Don't listen to the man who's lived there all his life.
All his life, this wise man. And they still went. What was it, 5? It was 6 or 7 of them.
6 went in and 1 came out.
And the one that came out was Alfred Packard, and he admitted that he, when the other ones died, that he ate them. And so he was tried, and then he was
tried and convicted. He was supposed to hang for it, but he didn't. They let him serve his time in prison, and he actually got out. Just at the turn of the century. He got out for a couple years before he died, and he's buried in the Littleton Cemetery.
And so people in Colorado, we call him our favorite cannibal. And even at University of Colorado, Boulder, jokes about it. One of their big cafe grills there is called the
Alfred
Packard Grill.
Yeah.
And they have a statue of him and everything and pictures of him all over the place.
Yeah. So he's made fun of a lot in Colorado, but I guess the story's very real, very true.
It's a very interesting story, and he's buried in Littleton. But what's even more interesting is that they found the bodies of these men, and a University of Colorado professor located the bodies. And when they first, back in the day, when he admitted to this, the authorities went up to the spot that he described where all this happened, and they found the dismembered bodies. He didn't bury them. And so a newspaper man drew pictures of the whole crime scene with these dismembered bodies and how they were lying. And then they ended up and then they buried them. And right where they were.
Which the graves are still there, and we plan on going there soon.
So yeah. So years later, just like 5 years ago, a professor at the University of Colorado wanted to see if he could find these graves. And he did. And not only did he find them because they're so high up and the freezing and everything, they were pretty well intact. And so when they did this, did an archaeological dig, they saw that the bodies that were described in the drawings done in the late 1800s by that newspaper man helped them to identify who was who, because he marked who was who in the drawings, and also proved that that's who these men were. These bodies that they found were in the 2000s, and so they reburied them and gave them a proper burial, and they have headstones, and you can actually go up there to their graveyard, and it's just them buried there. And but the thing is that they proved by examining the skulls and the bones and everything is that these guys didn't die.
He murdered them.
Yeah, just to take a chunk out, huh?
Yeah, he bashed their heads in.
Yeah, kind of like the similar story to the Donner Party, just a few less people in a different state.
Yeah. So needless to say, we're doing a couple of videos on that.
Well, I think every state has something along the lines of a cannibal story. Mm-hmm. I don't know why there is, but there seems to be one. I mean, whether it's true or not, they seem to have one.
I think before The Walking Dead became popular, cannibalism was the ultimate taboo.
Well, I'm going to go with I think it still is. In fact, I think I'm going to start interviewing my friends first. You're not into cannibalism, are you? If they are, I'm going to say we can't be friends.
But in case of apocalypse, I'm leaving my options open.
Well, the kicker of the end of the story of Alfred Packard is that he
became a vegetarian.
Well, he probably had to try to reverse some of the crap that it did to his head. I wonder if the vegetables started talking to him.
Okay, so his head's a whole different story.
Yeah, that is. That's a whole different story.
Oh crap!
According to Ripley's, Barnum bought his skull a while.
No, not Barnum. Some sideshow circus got his skull, and so they're thinking they dug him up in Littleton and took his skull, and then it ended up in somebody else's possession, and it finally ended up with Ripley's, believe it or not, in their New Orleans museum, and then when the hurricane happened, it got moved to San Antonio.
His head's in Texas.
So they ended up having cement the top of the grave because because his grave was being vandalized. So they're not really sure if this is really his head or not, if it was just a story that was made up about this item.
We're going to look into it in depth, and we'll have to get back to you.
So you're saying you need a vacation to Texas?
But it's funny because the more we investigate them, it's just like, oh my God.
The more bizarre it becomes.
It gets better and better, doesn't it?
Oh, that is odd. You know, it does, but again, it doesn't surprise me.
No.
Because there are some strange. I mean, what time frame did this guy kill these people?
It was the late 1800s, like 1870?
1870s, 1880s.
Yeah, the 1870s.
So, yeah, a time frame where people disappeared often.
Exactly.
It's around the same time as, the Bloody Benders and all that stuff in Kansas. Yeah. People don't really like, around here, the Bloody Benders are the big thing. Because it's just down the road from us.
I'm not familiar with that. But you need to tell us that story.
I don't know the whole story because I never really looked into, they were serial killers is what they were. So they had a home on a main route and they would invite people in to eat and kill them while they were eating. And they found their bodies underneath the floorboards of the house.
Ugh.
Yeah. So they would kill them, rob them, and kill them. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's down off of I think it's off of 69 Highway or 169, one of the two. We have both, so pick one. But I think it's 169 because it's on the way down to Cherryvale, Kansas. There's a historic sign there. But you know what? We're at our break. Everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back after this news break.
Live from NPR News, I'm Jack Spear. States can expect to receive more money for coronavirus testing. At a briefing today in the White House Rose Garden, President Trump announced the availability of $11 billion for states as part of an aid package from Congress signed into law several weeks ago. Trump saying it should help governors of those states do the testing they need to move forward.
We do have a great testing capability. At the White House, we're doing it. And I think, generally speaking, we had a call with the governors the other day. Generally speaking, without exception, they were all extremely happy with what's going on with respect to their testing.
Trump is also encouraging the country to reopen. That call comes even as the White House is dealing with the pandemic close to home. After several staffers there tested positive for the virus, a policy has now gone into effect that all West Wing staffers are required to wear masks except when at their own desks. COVID-19 is interrupting routine medical care around the world. It could have devastating effects on the global fight against AIDS. NPR's Ping Wong has that story.
In sub-Saharan Africa, more than 16 million people take daily drugs to treat HIV. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, WHO's Director General, warns that if the drug supply gets badly interrupted, there could be almost 1 million HIV-related deaths over the next year.
This could effectively set the clock back by more than a decade to 2008.
Tedros says that is a worst-case scenario and not a prediction. He says it can be avoided by keeping essential health services running while also increasing capacity to treat COVID-19. Ping Huang, NPR News.
Saudi Arabia has announced new cuts to its oil production as the world continues to grapple with a massive oversupply of petroleum. NPR's Camila Dominowski reports the pandemic has caused a collapse in global oil demand.
Saudi Arabia is already part of a massive deal to cut global production by around 10 million barrels per day. Now, the state oil company will cut an extra 1 million barrels per day for the month of June. That brings Saudi Arabia's total production cuts to nearly 5 million barrels per day, according to the state-run Saudi press agency. It's an attempt to prop up low oil prices, which have hurt Riyadh's budget. The kingdom is raising taxes and cutting spending to try to cope. Meanwhile, tankers of Saudi oil arriving in the U.S. have been causing tension as some U.S. producers object to the imports, pointing to the massive oversupply in the country. Camila Dominowski, NPR News.
First quarter earnings numbers are continuing to roll in, with most showing at least some damage as a result of the coronavirus pandemic and business closures. For hotel chain Marriott, earnings plunged in many areas. Cosmetic maker Coty also reported a loss. However, some other earnings, especially among big tech firms, have been better. On Wall Street, the Dow was down 109 points today to 24,221. However, the NASDAQ was up 71 points. You're listening to NPR. Police in Hong Kong arrested more than 200 protesters who defied a ban on demonstrations to mark Mother's Day. The charges range from unlawful assembly to assaulting an officer. NPR's Julie McCarthy reports authorities say demonstrators ignored warnings to disperse and that any gatherings could increase the spread of the coronavirus.
As Hong Kong succeeds in containing the pandemic, authorities have started to ease coronavirus-related restraints, now allowing 8 people to gather at one time. But the relaxed rules appear to be unevenly enforced. Even as bars overflowed with customers, local media report police left the patrons alone to focus on protesters. Images beamed live from Kowloon showed protesters being subdued on the ground and people bleeding. Anti-government demonstrations stopped in January when Hong Kong discovered its first COVID-19 case. But activists say the voices raised over the weekend signal renewed resistance to Beijing, which has been ramping up efforts to control the territory. Julie McCarthy, NPR News.
Britain has apparently had something of an about-face in terms of people wearing face masks in public. British government saying it's now telling people to cover their mouth and nose on ships, buses, and in subway cars. The change comes as Britain begins to gradually lift a nationwide lockdown imposed 7 weeks ago to slow the spread of the coronavirus. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has extended most restrictions. He says people will be allowed to do more outside activities starting this week. And Johnson says those who can't work from home should be actively encouraged to go to work. With more than 32,000 deaths, Britain has the highest COVID death toll in Europe. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News.
Support for NPR.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I hope everyone came back with us. And we are talking to Patrick and Denise Knowles from known as Colorado Martini. We're talking about serial killers and stuff. And when we left, Kat asked how many people that the Benders had killed. They got to count around a dozen is what it has. So other than that, I don't know much else other than we went by the site. So back to you guys.
Just put out a video on Saturday about a mass murder. One of the biggest mass murders here in Colorado, and it was actually a bomb on an airplane. Jack Graham he wanted to kill his mother, and because she basically abandoned him when he was little and left him in an orphanage, and
mommy wasn't there.
Yeah, mommy wasn't there. And so he put a bomb in her suitcase, and with those old cooking timers that you would turn, blew
up the whole plane, killed everybody just to get rid of his mother.
Just get rid of his mother, killed 44 people, and the plane went down in a farm field not far from our house here. And it's kind of a famous story in our town. And so we did a whole video that came out last Saturday about Jack Graham, and they caught him. And it's like one of the biggest FBI cases there. It was one of their biggest cases of its time because the FBI was pretty new at the time. It was 1955.
It's the first time they did a plane reconstruction as well after a crash. So they basically picked up every piece, took it to a warehouse, and reconstructed it.
But we also talked about that area is still farm fields, and they still, when they're turning the dirt, they still find items from people's suitcases, homes and pins, and
it wouldn't surprise me because they come down so fast that stuff's bound to get implanted into, buried in the ground.
Exactly.
And when they come up, and I bet you if that's what they were doing in Shanksville. If they were still farming where the plane went down in Shanksville, they would be finding stuff, but they're not. It's a memorial site.
Right.
From 9/11.
We were hoping to catch something paranormal out there, and we haven't yet. And because we can't get right to the site because it's private property.
It's a farm field.
But the whole, 3 mile square area was the wreckage. And we can go down a county road that bisects that 3 mile area. And so we've been kind of trying to like do the spirit box and stuff like that to see if we can get anybody. We got a guy named Carlos.
I think I got one of the old field hands, but we've yet to make contact with any of the passengers.
Oh, well, but you know what? Because they may have died. They may not have died on impact. They may have died before. Maybe they're not roaming the field.
Exactly.
Maybe they went home.
Exactly. I'm a full believer in that one. We're out and we're doing paranormal investigations. A lot of times we find spirits that you wouldn't think would be where you're at. And sometimes I link it to they were happy here and they came back. There's kind of a reason behind it. No, they didn't die here. They died in another state. But, and kind of my thought pattern is, when you're a spirit, I don't think a state or two is a big jump away. If you're able to come back and communicate with the living, I think, maybe interstate travel is pretty simple for you. But I don't know. I kind of goofy that way. Because we find spirits that identify themselves. And then when we do the research, because that's the one thing that we really like to do is that we like to find history and fact. I don't believe Marilyn Monroe's haunting the Conoco station in Arizona because she stopped and went to the bathroom there once.
Yeah,
That does not make sense to me.
That drives us crazy. So-and-so stayed here for a week, and he's haunting the place. It's like, really?
Okay. I got to tell you something. We stayed in a hotel over the weekend. We stay at this place all the time. It's the Rail Haven in Springfield, Missouri. It's right on Route 66. Elvis stayed there once. There's a Marilyn Monroe room. Okay. So out of all places in the world, where do you think Elvis would haunt?
Exactly.
He'd haunt this room he stayed in once, or Madison Square Garden.
Exactly.
He loved Madison Square Garden, so I could see him being there. So when we stay at the hotel, they always know, they'll ask questions while you're there, and a lot of times we're there to investigate someplace or to see friends, and I'll say it. I'll say, hey, yeah, we're here to investigate the Pythian Castle, or we're here to see our demonologist friends, things like that. I'm way too much of an open book. And they'll go, well, we have a haunted room. And I'm like, yeah, room 107. And they go, no, the Elvis Presley room. And I'm like, no, I don't have to go in there to tell you that he's not here. Elvis has left the building, and he did it back in 1954. I'm sorry. And, they don't want to hear that. They want to be known for that. But it is a nice room. It has a pink Cadillac bed and a jacuzzi in it. So it's really nice. Could have gotten it really cheap this past weekend because there was nobody there. Yeah. But it was funny that's, we've been staying there, I don't know how many years. Ron, my husband's been staying there since he was a baby. So well over 29 years. And so it's just funny that's what they want to, because this person stayed here one time, that they're there. And when you bring logic into it, they look at you like you're crazy. How would you know?
How dare you be logical
about the spirit world?
I know logic, but again, Denise knows this. She works with data, so she knows she has to be logical, because just because we're doing something else doesn't mean that our logic has gone away. You can't break the two. You can't break the logic away from the type of work that we do. Because, like I said, we do pretty much very similar things, and mine goes towards the data. The data that I'm getting, and what does this data say? Does this data say that this is a haunting, or does it say you got squirrels in your attic?
Exactly, and that's why I'm so pro equipment. rather than experiences, because the scientist in me and the software developer in me is like, I need like hardcore data.
Prove it.
I got to prove it.
Got to prove it.
And yeah, I know I feel this way, and and somebody's attached themselves onto me, and that's great. I can tell people that, but I need to know that there's something explaining this. Yeah, because that's happened to me quite a bit.
Do you feel that the equipment actually proves that, or that the equipment just enhances that to make it feel more like it's likely to match?
It proves it to me, and that's kind of how we got into this, is that, I kept, we would go on these paranormal things with other people, because we started going out with people to just video. And we weren't actually doing the investigation ourselves.
A lot of psychic groups, events, things like that.
And they kept wanting to talk to me. Spirits kept wanting to talk to me. And I just kind of, and I, had some spirits attach on to me and drain me and stuff. And I kind of needed the equipment to prove what was happening to me, that there was something there. There was something there. And, do I feel 100% that it's proving it? No, but it's making me feel like it's giving me I'm satisfied by getting some data and some results, and then I get intelligent responses. Yeah, whether it's on the K2 or on the spirit box and stuff, that I'm having an intelligent conversation with the unknown.
We're tough critics.
Well,
we really are.
I am.
We'll throw out evidence if there's any doubt in our mind that we don't really feel it's true evidence.
Yeah, when we do our videos, we have so much more footage than what you're seeing. We compile just the really good stuff that shows other people that, wow, that was an intelligent response. But we get a lot of other stuff. So we just don't give you the whole kit and caboodle, the dark time and, where there's nothing happening, or maybe that's what it said. Maybe that's not what it said. We only put out the stuff that concretely really shows that we were talking to something.
Well, wait a minute, is it concrete in the spirit world? I think that as much evidence you can gather, whether it's personal feelings, personal experiences, dowsing rods to K2s to SLSs. It's just more tools in the arsenal to gather more evidence for what you're investigating. So I think that all of it combined helps not only convince me, but definitely helps convince our viewers.
Right. Well, it's like the most biggest paranormal experience I've ever had. I didn't even get on film, or didn't even have equipment. And that was in Galveston.
Oh yeah, Galveston is just the whole place is haunted.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Next Saturday we're putting a whole recap video out about our experiences in Galveston.
We haven't been in 20 years, but
it's that place. There's so much. Not only has there been a lot of death and destruction there, especially from the 1900 hurricane.
Hurricane.
But I found out in my research that I actually had a family tie to that hurricane, that there were actually write-ups about my two-time great-grandparents were caught in that hurricane, and there was articles about them floating on a roof and being split apart in the middle of the night. With one had one kid, one had the other, and it was just, so I had a lot of connections with that disaster. And I didn't realize, when I had known that they got caught in this deluge.
The deluge.
But I didn't know it was the Galveston hurricane. And not until I did research did I find that out. So yeah, we went down there, and we were staying at the Tremont House, which is very haunted. And, had claims in these other rooms. It's always not our room, but yet we'll find a ton of stuff in our room. And, anyway, so we were in a suite. They put us up in a suite because we were reviewing their hotel. So we were actually there to do a travel video, because we were also going on a cruise from there. And we thought, we'll do a little paranormal stuff while we were there. And so they put us up in this really nice suite because we were reviewing them and everything. And this suite turned out to be really haunted. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that the man who redid the hotel and a lot of the buildings, that was he and his wife's floor. It was their apartment, and they both died in our room. And so in the middle everything was fine. We were having a great time. We were doing a little bit of paranormal investigations and not doing anything really serious and filming a lot. And I was fine. We were laughing, having a good time. At 9 o'clock, all of a sudden, I just felt just this energy drain and this overwhelming dread feeling.
Well, it didn't help that a thunderstorm blew in.
So every time there's a thunderstorm,
happens all the time there.
It's people start feeling dread and stuff, because spirits, get worked up by it because of this horrible hurricane that killed over 12,000 people, and that the count actually still goes up because they're starting to put data into databases, and they realized there were a lot more people killed than they realized.
Yeah, they hadn't gotten the census done yet, so they had no clue how many people were even there. They don't even know how many kids were in the orphanage that was torn down. Oh, well,
exactly, which
flooded and blown down. And so,
that orphanage was. But anyway, so I started feeling this horrible dread, and basically during the hurricane, because the ocean, was a 10-foot surge. Mm-hmm. This is an island. Bodies were floating by, live and dead, and they were pulling the dead bodies in. People were held up on the 3rd and 4th floors of these concrete buildings. Because it was a very happening place at the time. It's never recovered from that hurricane. It was a very place at that time. And they were pulling the bodies in and putting them in the corner, these places where everybody's holding up, or pulling live people in. So everybody was holding up in these 3rd and 4th floors for this thing to literally blow over. And so it so happens to be the place where we were staying was on the 4th floor, and it was one of those buildings. And so this dread and this this horrible feeling, just fear and dread, I couldn't shake it all night long. I didn't get hardly any sleep, just all night long. And then Patrick moved into the living room because I was keeping him up.
Can't get any sleep around this woman, I swear.
And anyway, so he moved on to the couch, and I finally got some sleep, and then something woke me up like at dawn, and I still felt the same way. And then I could hear somebody shuffling in the foyer out in the living room, and I figured it was Patrick going to the bathroom out there, because there was another bathroom. And
then I'm glad there was another bathroom. I'm glad he wasn't going in the living room.
And I heard the doorknob turn, and the doorknob turn, and I could hear somebody leaving. And so I got up because I was going to catch him and, to tell him I still wasn't, that I was still feeling this. And he was asleep on the couch.
Yeah, Mr. Martini has no problem sleeping in haunted places.
But after this whatever left, all of a sudden I felt perfectly normal again.
The dread left the room.
Just like it left the room.
So do you consider yourself to be a sensitive?
Yes.
At this point, yeah.
Yes. But I don't advertise it very much.
Right.
More
I understand.
Discovery.
It's something that I'm still proving to myself. And so, you know what? We went right past the break. So everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guests are Denise and Patrick Knowles, also known as Colorado Martini, and we are having a great time. So you said you guys are coming up on your 33rd wedding anniversary?
Yes, we are.
When is that?
It's the Memorial Day weekend.
The 23rd.
And of course, we're going ghost hunting in the Deadwood area.
Okay, well, our wedding anniversary, we got married on Memorial Day weekend too, 36 years ago. And Kat also got married on Memorial Day weekend.
The 23rd's ours.
Ours is the 26th. Hers is the 26th. And Carl in the chat room, his birthday is May 26th.
Oh,
so
wow.
There is some synchronicity going on here. Not only are you named Denise, your birthday isn't in June, is it?
No, it's in April.
Oh, okay.
But Patrick's is in June.
What day in June, Patrick?
He just walked away, the 24th.
Okay, so he's not a Gemini.
No.
So, okay, there we go. Had to have something fall apart around here somewhere. But, well, congratulations. And that is, every anniversary is momentous because, we always do something sometime during the year where the other one goes, I should have gotten rid of them a long time ago.
Patrick and we're best friends, and that's why we do this together, because we enjoy each other's company. We have the same likes, and we keep each other balanced, and we enjoy adventure and figuring things out and trying to figure out puzzles and the history behind things. And it's kind of how we got into the whole thing, is bringing our interests together.
Yep. Ron and I have some similar interests, but we have enough separate interests to where it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if we both did the same exact thing, how in the heck am I going to read that book? Because he's reading the same book I'm reading, So it works out. But when we were talking about Galveston, what people don't know about Galveston is that they actually raised the whole island after all that.
Yes, they did.
To try to save lives. And I was also the sprint contact for the tropical storm and hurricane that flooded everything out the last time they had a horrible hurricane. I was the contact for the sprint. Yep. That was me.
Hurricane Ike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hurricane Ike. Well, at least they knew that one was coming. That's the one thing about the 1900 hurricane. They knew there was a hurricane, but they didn't know it was coming. They didn't think it was coming their way. No. They thought it was going to turn up the coast, North Carolina. And they didn't feel it was going to come into the Gulf, and they were sorely wrong.
Yeah, and now they estimate the deaths to be over 12,000.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it's over 12,000 now, and they're constantly it's like really sad. There were so many bodies that they put them on a barge.
Oh, before they did that,
the
military showed up and at gunpoint made the citizens pick up all the bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they put them on a barge and they pushed them they pushed the barge out to sea and shoved the bodies off into the water because there were so many, and they floated back. They came back into the beach. All the bodies.
Guess they didn't know their tide schedules back then very well, did they?
And so people say the beaches are very haunted there because of this. And so they basically had to gather the bodies up again, and then this time they burned them.
It is. I just know that every time I've been to Galveston, it was always, first of all, the Victorian homes, the mansions and things like that. P Street is beautiful. The Galvez Hotel, Hotel Galvez is out as it goes, is a neat hotel. I am so concerned that the pier is going to cave in give out underneath it, and it's going to end up in the water.
Yeah.
But, when you look at all of it, people should be amazed that this is all on a 3-mile island, which is bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we got 3-mile island in Pennsylvania and a whole other issue, but it's only 3 miles long. And, there's stuff I saw when we were there that would, make a lot of people turn very pale. But it's one of those places that, no, I don't like the muddy water, but I like the beach.
Right.
You can catch crabs at night. They just, they're huge and they're just walking around and you can just grab them as long as they're male. And gotta let the females go. But, the ferry ride is wonderful, and Bolivar Island is interesting. And nobody ever talks about Bolivar Island except for when some kid gets attacked by a shark. And so there is a lot of stuff out there that I want to see as an adult without children.
Right. Oh, you should definitely be back. And if you go to the Galvez, which is an absolutely beautiful hotel right there on the ocean side, mm-hmm. The owners of the Galvez own the hotel we were in, the Tremont House.
Mm-hmm.
And the Galvez is also very haunted. And the concierge there she's absolutely fantastic. And you look up any paranormal videos on the Galvez, she's in them. And she's a true believer. And we went up to her and asked her if we could walk around and film. And she got up from behind her desk and gave us a full-on haunted tour.
Yeah, I'd never known that the Galvez was owned by the mafia. And that
it was.
And
it wouldn't surprise me.
The talent that the mob used to bring in to Galveston for entertainment, like Dean Martin, Tony Bennett, people that shouldn't be in Galveston singing, would come to his hotel as a guest and perform. And just the stories she had behind it, and they were very paranormal friendly. She took us up to the mob boss's office and was showing us where he would hold his meetings. And the history behind it, always grabs us. And then on top of it, the hotel's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Stay in there next time.
Yeah, we tried to stay there on our way back from our cruise, but they were booked.
Full.
They were booked.
We won't talk about the dump we stayed in because...
Well, you know what?
On the way back.
On the way back.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when we stayed in Galveston, we stayed at the Motel 6 because it was 2 blocks from the beach. You walked past the Chinese restaurant, went past
I know where you guys were at.
Hotel Del Rey or the whatever Del Rey it is, that they were condos, and you're right at the beach.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're by the fishing pier there. It's perfect. It's easy, it's fast, and you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. But it's perfect with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they still, my kids still talk about the Happy Buddha Chinese restaurant. They still talk about that to this day. So but we also know where the doctors are and all kinds of stuff because we had sick kids too while we were there.
Right.
We've done it all.
Go back and do the Galvez, and back then we didn't have all the equipment we have now, and but so now we want to go back, and especially with the experiences I had. I mean, I didn't just have that one experience when we first got there. Something kept pounding on the ceiling, and like really loud. And, she
was going to call down to the front desk and complain about the children jumping off the beds upstairs until she realized there was no floor upstairs. It was the roof.
That I was on the top floor.
Well,
turns out the floor above us burnt down half a century ago.
Must have been seagulls.
Not in that thunderstorm.
Yeah, this was like somebody had dropped, like a huge piece of furniture onto the ground. Like a kid jumping off a bed onto the ground. I mean, it was loud, and it kept happening. And I actually have it on that. I have that on video.
She started recording it. It was so loud. And then again, we found out we were on the top floor. We went up and checked it out, and it was a roof, and it was raining. And it's like, okay.
There's like nothing there that could have made that sound. So that's how my evening started.
Well,
and the dread.
Yeah.
So, is there? Okay, I'm going to ask this question somehow, some way. I'm going to ask it. When you're traveling, what is one of the places that you would recommend to someone to go to? Say, this is hands down the place you want to go based on your knowledge of paranormal, travel, history, and alcohol.
Galveston.
And alcohol.
I say Galveston.
Yeah, there's cheap alcohol there.
I had some of the best food.
You can walk down the street with a beer in your hand now.
Yeah, you can walk around with a beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
then.
Bourbon Street now. You can walk into a bar, order a beer to go, and continue your journeys.
Yeah, there was so much paranormal there that you really kind of have to plan it out before you go.
I mean, all the tragedy that Galveston's seen. Just the history of John Lafitte, the pirate, who controlled the island and used to take the native inhabitants there captive. He would kill all the men and keep the women and children as his servants. So when they came into their village, they had people who would take care of them. The Civil War battles in the street. And then leading up to, of course, the 1900 hurricane there. I mean, it's just tragedy after tragedy in the streets of Galveston. I think that if you went there ghost hunting and didn't come back with something, it would be abnormal.
Yeah. I definitely would.
I would say so. Is Galveston still a place where you can walk around a lot, or is it one that's more of a drive around?
No, it's both. It's if you want to see the whole island, like when you first get there, you should do a tour.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see everything. But if you stayed like at the Tremont House where we stayed, you're at the Strand, which is the main drag.
Which is the harbor where the boats go out, and then of course you have the ocean side.
Right, and so the Strand is like their Bourbon Street, because there's a very bourbon.
That's where they do their Mardi Gras, right?
Exactly, and that's where all of your historical 4-story concrete buildings are as you walk through, because that's where your merchants were.
Right.
And those are the ones that survived. Each one has a "I survived the 1900 hurricane" plaque right on the building.
Because it's all under the historical.
Yeah.
So it's easy to identify the buildings that are still there, which makes it easier for paranormal investigations.
Yeah. You'd be hard pressed not to find something that isn't paranormal, but I would start at the Strand area, because that's the oldest area, and it got hit very hard. But definitely, somebody had recommended to me to do a tour when I first got there, and I was kind of bummed that I didn't, because there was so much we didn't see, and but I knew that we were pressed for time, so I had our stuff really planned out on what we were going to do, because we were only there for like 3 days before our cruise took off.
And I guess that recommendations would come with a little customization of what are you looking to do? Are you looking to go to a beautiful place and do paranormal investigations? Or do you like the mountains? Do you like the ocean?
Yeah.
We have some great paranormal here in Colorado, and we're kind of fond of the mountains and the views.
Cripple Creek and Victor.
Yeah,
here in Colorado.
Cripple Creek's awesome. Victor, both were mining towns. They saw a lot of tragedy.
Everybody's always talking about the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park because it's the Shining Hotel. Yeah. But there's so many other places that
it's awesome. Don't get us wrong.
And some of their claims are pretty ridiculous.
But some of them are also very real.
Yes.
So if you ask me if the Stanley Hotel has paranormal activity, I would tell you absolutely. Does it have everything that they claim, is in the hotel? They've got some pretty ridiculous claims as well.
Like Lord Dunraven.
Yeah, Lord Dunraven. He's haunting it for some unknown reason. Oh, he owned the property.
401. He's haunting 401.
But he never stayed there.
He never stayed there. There was nothing even ever built there when he owned the property. And his lodge that he did build was way down the road. Mm-hmm. He owned quite a few, acres.
Plus a castle in Ireland?
Yeah, he was a lord and had a castle in Ireland. Wouldn't he be like haunting that? And he never died there. He never stayed there.
But somehow his spirit's there. So we kind of laugh at that. But it's an awesome hotel. The city is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Surrounded by mountain vistas. There's a couple of 14ers there. That's Colorado talk for the 14 mountains that are over 14,000 feet. We have quite a few of them here.
But
yes, I know.
If you were going to pick my two favorite places in Colorado is up in Cripple Creek and Victor. Those two places they're both sister mining towns. And one of them is practically a ghost town, and that's Victor. And Cripple Creek's down the road, and it was a bigger town. And there's not a building there that's not haunted.
You'll see a lot of paranormal groups doing the Black Orchid Hotel in Victor. It's a serial killer themed hotel.
It's not even a hotel.
It's more like a
bed and breakfast.
A hostel.
Yeah.
It's a hostel.
I think eventually they're going to get to the hotel part, but they've got a few rooms that are serial killer themed, like the what's the Holmes room?
There's the H.J. Holmes room. There's the Tesla room and stuff. And there's only like 4 or 5 rooms.
Yeah, there's only 4 or 5 rooms.
He's redoing this old saloon building, and upstairs was.
I hate to do this to you, but this is our last break, and I can't miss it. Yep. So. Everybody, this is the last break. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat room so I can ask them. But you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting The best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I've had the greatest guests tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed them. Denise and Patrick Knowles, also known as Colorado Martini on YouTube. So please go out there and find their YouTube channel and subscribe. I think that you'll find it very interesting. And I did have a question in the chat. What's the best drink to get on the way? And the reason I'm going to answer this is because I know where they're going. They're my family. The best place to stop on your trip on Interstate 64 for a drink, there is a free ghost tour Thursdays through Sundays starting at 7 o'clock. You have to sign up for it on their webpage. It's called Buffalo Trace Distillery. And you can take the kids. So all 7 kids would like it. And at the end, they give you 3 samples. And my favorite, bourbon cream at the end. And it's a fun trip, and the kids will like it. And there's also some history that goes along with it, and they can walk around. And I think that the kids would find it enjoyable. But for you guys, they're going from West Virginia or from Virginia Beach to Idaho Springs, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Can you think of anything in the Denver area that might be fun for them to stop at on their trip for that? Because they have 7 young kids that might want to get out and walk around.
You're not going north through South Dakota, North Dakota?
No. They're coming through Kansas City. Like I said, my family. So they're coming through Kansas City, and they're going to go through Denver. They have a sister that lives in Denver. And I told them Cheeseman Park would be a good place to get out and walk around there.
Cheeseman Park, as haunted as it is, it's absolutely beautiful place.
You don't find humps in the ground.
Yeah. As you walk, you get depressions as you walk from where the graves used to be. But drink-wise,
are they just looking to get out and stretch their legs, or are they looking to spend the day? Because we have an Elitch Park downtown that's great for kids, roller coasters, all that kind of good stuff.
No, I got a better place. Chautauqua. Chautauqua is a park that's in Boulder, and it's an absolutely beautiful place to just take the family. You can go hiking, you can hang out at the park, and they have a dining house there that has a beautiful veranda where you can sit and look at the beautiful view of the mountains and have some of the best lemon drop martinis that I've ever had. They make the best lemon drop martinis. And you can just sit on the veranda and look at the flat irons, and your kids could be running around on the grass right beneath you.
Oh, you can give them the lemon drops and you can go run around on the grass. That way the kids will take a nap. I'm kidding.
Well, you'll need to look up my recipe for NyQuil gelatin shooters. Those work really good with the kids.
He's kidding.
I know.
Although our kids are in their 20s.
Well, your kids are fine. These are between the ages of, I think, 3 and 14. Yes, seven boys between the ages of 3 and 14.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Then
Chautauqua was great. You could burn some energy there. You can hike all the way up to where they rock climb the Flatirons.
Yeah, it's
quite impressive.
Another good place to stop is the overlook where you can see the buffalo right there on I-70.
Yeah.
We stopped there all the time.
I actually did a whole video on where to stop on I-70. So I went from Denver to Glenwood Springs. We did a video, and it tells you all the great places to stop on the way.
We stopped at the ice cream shop there in Fruitland. That they have one in in the other town too. EN something. I can't remember the name of it, but they had really good ice cream. And we also stopped at the end of I-70. Huh?
Evergreen?
No, it's EN. Like I said, I can't remember it, but they make 110 kinds of ice cream. They don't always have 110, but they're also a chocolate maker.
I don't know that place.
And it's right off of 70. There, the town started with a G, and we decided not to stop there, and we decided to stop in Fruitland instead. So,
Genesee's on the side. I think she's talking about the West Slope.
Yeah. Yes, it's on the west side. And we also stopped in Utah at the very end of I-70.
Oh, Grand Junction. Grand Junction.
Yeah, Grand Junction is where the other one was. So they have 2 shops. One's in Grand Junction, one's in Fruitland. But the very end of I-70 is Cove Fort. And so beginning of I-70 isn't far from where I grew up as a kid. So I have now seen all of I-70, and I'm going to tell you, I do not like when you come out of the tunnel, 12,000 feet up. I don't like that. The highest point of the interstate system is on I-70, and
that's it, over 11,000 feet right there.
Yeah, I know.
No,
and I don't like
hear
it.
you on that one.
Have you ever had the pleasure of driving over Trail Ridge Road? It's the highest road in America.
Where's it at?
It literally goes over the top of the Rockies.
The Rocky Mountain National Park.
No.
Yeah, it's an amazing, and there's no guardrails.
See, I couldn't do it. I would be there. My husband would throw me out of the car.
Yeah. No,
it's bad enough when we came out of the tunnel and it was sleeting on us one April. This was before they put in the law where you have to have snow tire or have chains if the weather gets bad. We come out, it's 70 degrees on one side of the mountain. We come out on the other side, and my car goes ding, 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 and there's a little snowflake on it. Okay, I just bought the car, so I didn't know. I was like, well, that's neat. My car's telling me it's snowing outside. And I'm like, it is. Of course, now I know it just does it when it gets to 39 degrees. It just comes on. But then I didn't know. And we come out, and here's this tandem trailer beside us going way too fast on a 7% grade.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, my God, my brake doesn't work on my side of the car. And my husband's going, shut the hell up. That's all he's saying. He's like, he's having enough stress on, I think it's 5 lanes, going down the mountain at a 7% grade, and all you smell is brake.
Yep.
Brakes and clutches.
You're going straight down into that valley. There's no switchbacks or anything. You're just going straight down into that valley.
Thank God there's no switchbacks. It is. If you can look at it,
It's worth the risk. Come on.
No, it's
I want to go skiing.
Well, I mean, I got to see, Breckenridge. I got to see Vail. Vail is beautiful. I mean, we stopped at, there's some beautiful rest areas off that road with deer and fish. And I mean, it's beautiful. I just got to get past the Breckenridge and Vail area, and then I'm fine.
Well, if you want a visual, I actually have that grade, driving that grade in that video.
How in the heck did you do that without getting sick?
I was driving. She's always sick when I drive.
So Denise understands the brake not working on my side of the car then.
Exactly. She's wore a spot in the carpet.
Trying to put the brake on my side of the car.
It's just, you drive up this side of the mountain and you don't know how bad it is on the east side. But when you're coming down the west side, you're sitting there going, why couldn't I turn around in the tunnel and come back the other way?
We're in a rain shadow on the west side because the mountains are so tall that you can literally be standing in our backyard in shorts and it's 75 degrees out, and you look up into the hill, into the mountains, and it's snowing. You can see it's snowing, and you just, because the storms can't get over the Rockies to us. We get all our snow from the north and the south. It never
got to be a wraparound type of situation.
Yeah, it's always a wraparound thing. So it could be just like they can get 12 feet of snow and we're water skiing.
But I mean, if you live in an area like that, you tend to adapt. Like all of our cars are 4-wheel drive. All of our cars have really good snow tires on them. It helps tremendously.
Yeah, we haven't put chains on once ever
since we moved here.
Yeah.
Well, good. But I know that they made that a law last year for that part of I-70 for that 150 miles. Yeah. So that if in between, September 1st and June 1st, or is it May 1st? You have to have. I
believe it runs to June now. Because we have snow
me.
in the mountains right now. We're getting rain, but 9,000 feet or better, it's snowing.
Yeah, it's scary, and but like I said, I think it's beautiful, and we take the north route. That's there's 2 north routes to go, and that's the middle north route for us to go to Vegas. And as beautiful as it is, it's still scary because you just don't know when the weather's going to change, and it changes on a dime.
Right.
On the
weather
west side,
here can kill you.
Yeah, it can.
If not snow, our lightning's much talked about. We lose 13 to 15 people a year from lightning strikes.
Oh, and then you guys get hail.
They're hiking.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good locals know if you're going to do a mountain, especially if it's over, 10,000 feet, you get up there early in the morning and you get down before the afternoon thunderstorms. Mm-hmm. If you get caught above, 9,000 feet, 10,000 feet, you're the tallest thing up there.
There's no trees.
And the lightning here is absolutely brutal.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be parties hiking, one of what we call them 14ers, things at mountains that are taller than 14,000 feet. And, they're above the tree line, and the lightning will hit. And it will hit one party, arc over to another party, arc over to 5 parties that aren't even together. And they all got struck by the same lightning bolt. It happens all the time here. You have to be at the base of the mountain in your car in the pitch dark in the morning. And the minute the sun comes up, that's when you start.
Then you hit it. Otherwise, you're not going to get down before the afternoon thunderstorm.
If you're not coming down that mountain by 11 o'clock or noon, you're going to get caught up there. Yeah, but people just never heed the warnings.
Yeah, and in the winter too, when you're driving, you always carry a winter bag in your car. Your winter bag always has survival gear in it. Warm clothes, food.
And if you don't believe us, ask Alfred Packard.
Oh, well, yeah, we had to drive to Vegas in February. And so we took a bunch of stuff just in case. Yeah. And because there's so many places along Interstate 40 where there's nothing.
Yeah.
for 40
Slide off
miles.
the road. Lord
Yep.
heavens, it might be a couple days.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that in Wyoming. You got to be very careful in Wyoming because
Yeah.
Wyoming is very wide open.
There's more cows than people in the state of Wyoming, and that's a fact.
And they get
Oh, yeah.
blizzards. They're only, 45 minutes north of us, and you can just see the blizzard happening there, and it's not hitting us. It's just
no
jet
wind stop.
stream goes right over them.
Yeah,
And
they've been getting hit hard this year. So I also know that North Dakota got hit really bad this year because we're having flooding issues that they're already talking about with my company. So, so since we're at the last 2 minutes, I want to make sure how if people wanted to find you, how would they find you?
So if you go to YouTube and just type in the search Colorado Martini, we'll come up. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. We're all over the place. And we're all under Colorado Martini across social media.
Well, you know what? I am so glad I found you guys. You guys made this a very interesting show. Not that it was all 100% paranormal, but we covered everything that you guys do. We covered history, travel, adventure, paranormal, and drinking.
I'll drink to that.
So we got it all. And I've asked other people that's all they do is, I asked some moonshiners to come on the show. They go, well, we only believe in one spirit, and that's God. And I'm like, okay, well, we can talk about something other than paranormal. We don't have to talk just paranormal. I know a lot about a lot of subjects. I can talk about anything. And, but no, I've had people turn me down because of that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I really enjoyed you guys. You guys got my husband thinking about Galveston again, but that was on our list. I mean, it has been. We've been wanting to go down to Houston to see our friends, and since we found Florida, it's like brown beach, white beach. It kind of goes that way. And and every trip we do, it's always family involved. Which family member are we going to go visit? Not that we're staying with them, but who are we going to visit?
Right.
So, and as we get older, that family becomes so much more important. And I know you guys feel the same way. So, Thank you all for joining us tonight. Next week at this time will be a replay because Kat is going to be on Vegas Supernatural with Sean Whittington. Ooh. And so I think that's going to be a fun show to hear. And then my next guest will be on June 1st. And it's a surprise. I got my good friend Joe Strachone to come back on. And it's been a while since I've talked to him. In fact, it's probably been 5 years since the first time he was on my show. So this will be a good visit for everybody who's never heard of him. He's been on Paranormal Survivor. He's been on Haunted Hospitals. He's got multiple books. Some of his books are going for $600, $700 on Amazon now. And of course I have them. I have them autographed, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'd like for you guys to come and listen to Joe, and we're going to talk about debunking the paranormal. So it's going to be a fun show, and it's going to be old home week for me again because I accidentally called him today and got to talk to him today. So it was an accident, but so join us here next week for the replay, or go to KCOR and listen to Kat and Sean, and it's going to be a great interview. I think you guys will enjoy that. So have a great night, and you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Enjoy your week. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you
for having us.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? You see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watch a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics, from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.